Right. Ready? Good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome to the Red Alpha Mugshot Monday podcast. I'm Ruben and my wife, Veronica. We're here for another episode of Mugshot Monday, where we talk about what's brewing with Red Alpha. We showcase our mugs for the week. And we talk a little bit, we recap a weekend, we talk about some of the things that we experienced over the last week and what we're looking forward to in the future. We just kind of invite you into our world, over a cup of coffee. But let's jump right into this. This week, once again, I got my Red Alpha Mugshot Monday coffee mug.
The left-handed one.
The left-handed one for sure. I've been wanting a coffee mug with our logo on there to kind of makes me feel a little bit more official, and so, but next week we'll probably have a whole different coffee mug and maybe a story that goes behind it. But the story behind the Red Alpha Mugshot Monday, it just started. I wanted to do something regularly on Mondays, and so I was like, I'm going to do a Mugshot Monday. And so I was taking pictures on Facebook and just have a little caption that goes along with it, and that's been going on for, I don't know, maybe a year or two, and then I said, you know what, maybe we can make a kind of like a podcast, about it, and just sit down on Monday morning before we get started for the week, sip a little coffee, talk about what's going on behind the scenes and even in front of the scenes of Red Alpha, and just kind of go from there. But that's my coffee mug. Tell us a little bit about yours, babe.
Oh, I just got my our Dinosaur Valley one that we got at Dinosaur Valley when we went last year. I like the size of it. It's a nice size. It's heavy, but I don't know what kind of material this is. It's not like a regular.
It's not like a regular ceramic mug.
It kind of feels like when you go out, like when you're in the cowboy era,
camping
with what do you call them? The cowboys, right?
Yeah, like aluminum.
But I like it, my Dinosaur Valley.
Yeah, I think they're like aluminum with a ceramic coating. Yeah, is what it is. Because they get hot, don't it? Whenever yeah, it's not like coffee mugs. A little bit, it disperses the heat a little bit different. But yeah, those are our coffee mugs. Dinosaur Valley. We went not too long ago with our grandson, and it was fun. Going through places that I've seen pictures where y'all went before, and when your kids were little, and then kind of recreating some of the pictures from whenever they were kids. So it was cool. Dinosaur Valley is definitely a cool thing to go to,
it's a good
especially if your kids are into that. There was one whenever we went out to the where you see where the dinosaur footprints are, and so we were able to be right before the rain, like there was water in that little river that's going through, and just sitting there just looking at rocks and throwing them into trying to skip them, and that's some fun times. I never thought that I'd have that much fun at Dinosaur Valley, because I do like dinosaurs, but I realized that there are some people that are really into dinosaurs. And you guys introduced me to the Jurassic Parks. I'd seen them, but I mean, the passion that you guys had behind that was pretty cool, and I kind of adopted it for myself, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, so that's our coffee mugs for the week. This podcast revolves around our love, for coffee, but it's just kind of gives us an excuse to sit down and talk about life, right? And speaking of life, this past weekend was actually a working weekend for us. We had a trailer that we were finishing up. We had a couple of small projects that we had to print and then lining up for the week. But it felt like a weekend off, it
wasn't too stressful.
It wasn't too stressful. And so that's always a good thing whenever you can kind of, wake up a little bit later, right? I was sleeping in till like 7 o'clock, and
without no alarm.
With no alarm. Yeah. So that feels different, because when you got the alarm, like I'm waking up before the alarm anyway,
just
and I'm
to see
like,
how much time
I got 2 minutes left, And anyway, so that's right. And so but whenever you don't have the alarm off, then it's like you're naturally waking up.
Yeah.
But what I'm noticing is that it's getting darker. I mean, the sun seems to be coming out a little bit later, and so usually I would wake up because it's the sun. Like even before 7, it's like it's not the sun hasn't come up yet, but it's still kind of a little light.
Yeah.
And twilight, is that what it's called? I don't know. No, that's midnight. And anyway, so it's like right before the sun comes up, it's still a little bit of light out, and that would wake me up. But now it's staying darker, and so I have a tendency to want to sleep in because of my circadian rhythm. It wants me to stay in bed, and so I probably could have today again. It's like I woke up, about the same time, but the alarm was on. But it's off. It was off today. It was off again today.
Yeah, we didn't have the alarm.
Oh, today. Okay, so I wake up about the same time, just naturally. But being able to do that on the weekend, it just feels more relaxing. You wake up and, we had breakfast, which is, sometimes that's a rare thing. I was mentioning that your breakfast burritos, it's been, I don't know how long.
I know, it's been several months since I made burritos for breakfast.
Yeah. And for those of you guys who don't know us, my wife makes the best breakfast burritos, and she makes them only for me. So the reason why I'm telling you that is because that's something that I've looked forward to every weekend, like almost every weekend.
Yeah, every weekend.
Since we've been together, right?
We would do
on Sundays,
burritos,
And then so whenever we go out of town, that's 2 weekends out of the month, that I don't have her breakfast burritos. And then recently, when we've been working on it, we've been waking up early on the weekends, and so don't get the breakfast burritos then, and so I've been missing out.
Yeah, and when we do get breakfast burritos, we go here locally to go get some, but it's good, but it's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not the same to me. It's not made with the same type of love that I think that you make it with. Yeah. So, and anyway, so I'm looking forward to the breakfast burritos anytime I can get it, and that's something that we got to enjoy this weekend, which is, even though it's a working weekend, we got to enjoy kind of some of the normal stuff that we enjoy that makes life exciting. And so we did finish up the trailer. Customer came and picked up. They were happy. Shout out to Trinity Pros LLC. Those guys, I posted some pictures already, and I'm going to do another post, just giving them a shout out again. But if you haven't seen it, just go to our Facebook page. I did one on TikTok and Instagram, and you could see the new design that we designed. We're pretty proud of the design. Our friend Lauren with Naughty Concepts, he designed that trailer and just knocked it out of the park once again. Our process is we provide a creative brief to our customers, and they kind of fill out the brief and answer the questions, and based on how they answer the questions, and of course the references that they may have pictures of other wraps that they like or whatever. But based on all that information that we get, we put together a design proof. And so we work with our graphic designer, in this case Lauren with Naughty Concepts, and we put together a proof that we provide for the client so that they can approve it. And so there wasn't too much back and forth, but it was really trying to, whenever you're designing a wrap, whether it be a trailer wrap or a vehicle, there's a story that you're trying to tell. And so with this one right here, there was 2 stories, I think, that 3 stories really that we were trying to tell. Number one, we were trying to tell the story of who the company is and what they do and how they get in touch with them. That's one story. The next story was that they're veteran owned, right? So we had to kind of incorporate that information into the design because you're also telling that story. And then thirdly, their faith, their faith, and not just faith, typical Christian faith. It's cowboy Christian faith, right? And so, that was part of the story that they wanted to tell within the design. And so whenever you look into at the design, that's the story that you're looking at. You're looking at who that person is, behind the company, right? You can see who they are as a company, and be able to make a decision whether or not you want to do business with them. But you can see that they have served our country, and then you can make a determination there, and then you could see their faith, right? And that is a beautiful thing, because most commercial wraps are going to tell you maybe one story, who they are as a company. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I love the fact that we were able to tell a more complex story on a trailer wrap, because that's what I love stories. I love telling stories through our products and services. Part of what we're doing here with the Red Alpha Mugshot Monday podcast is telling a story, right? And I believe if you can tell a good story, people will sit around and listen to you, right? And so that's what I've been trying to develop within myself, is be a good storyteller. Right. It doesn't matter what the topic is. I want to be good at telling that story, so that way you can maybe engage the audience. They want to listen to you a little bit longer. And storytelling is where it's at. It's always been where it's at, but it's definitely where it's at. And so speaking of story, we got a story to tell you. It's about our Showmates brand. If you guys have been following us for any length of time, even on social media, we have posted from time to time different shows that we've been into. And, sometimes during the show, I'm sitting there commenting, like, there's a death scene, and we're like, oh man, I can't believe this person did that. Or, I can't believe that. And some of the shows that we watched, particular scenes have really impacted us, to where, my wife is crying. She cried whenever Glenn got hit in the head by Negan, during Walking Dead. And there's been a few movies, few shows that have impacted us that way, and so it's through this love of watching shows and movies that we've, developed a brand called Showmates. And just one day I said, you're my showmate, because we're always watching shows together. We're watching movies together. We don't watch a show by ourselves, and we don't go to the movies by ourselves. It's just me and you. We don't go with other people. It's rare that happens. And so the Showmate brand, it's grown into an actual brand. We got several designs on our website, and in fact, we're wearing one of our Showmate brand shirts. This one was for the movie 28 Years Later. And talk a little bit about 28 years, because I think that's one thing that I think that you had watched it before we. I'm not sure if it was before we got together, or I don't even remember when that came out.
We watched the 28 Days Later. That came out. I don't remember when it came out, but it was a long time ago. But that really caught my attention. Just it was a different type of zombie movie. It had a lot of backstory, and then just the way the zombies were attacking. I mean, it was really gruesome and a different type of zombie. So that kind of, I mean, that's been one of our favorite genres of movies is zombie movies. So
the one thing that I like about the 28 days, or that 28 years, that series, right, is that, first of all, the first movie was considered a low budget movie. There wasn't a lot of graphics and, a lot of budget that went into the movie, and it did really well. I think the 28 weeks did really good too. And then the 28 years did good, but the budget on the 28 years was a lot more than the first two movies. But when it came to the story that they told, with how they lost their humanity, right? And they got infected, and they started to lose their humanity, and becoming something that was more. It's something that's in you, right? It's a rage that's inside of everybody, right? But whenever you get infected with this virus, that rage is the thing that takes over, right? And so it just kind of makes you think. It makes you think that rage, if you get infected with a situation, if you get infected with a traumatic experience, right? That rage might be inside you. And you see people do it all the time, where it's like they experience something in life and they become somebody different, right? Maybe it's rage, maybe it's depression, maybe it's maybe it's happiness, maybe it's calmness, right? And so we all got things inside of us that can be triggered by an event, right? And it just so happens they told that story through an infection, and they talked about the rage that comes within us. And I mean, because you're seeing when the guy went after his wife, he knew her. It looked like he knew who she was. He just couldn't fight the rage. And so when in the hospital, he went and did that to her eyes, and so it's like there was part of him still in there, and but he couldn't control that inner rage. And that's what I liked about that movie. It's like, and then even in the 28 years, you can see how the the infected were evolving. They were they were like kind of becoming human again, right? They had communities, and they were reproducing, and they weren't the same as what we consider civilized, because the human or the uninfected people were, they actually went back too, like they were more of a, like, going back to the 1800s. They were living like they were in the 1800s, right? Yeah. And so they all reverted back to something, right? And so the infected started to evolve, where they're getting smarter, getting bigger, they're getting they're reproducing, and even different types, right? Some of them were crawling on the ground, right, and couldn't get up, and some of them were were like just stronger, and some of them were just kind of in between, but they were evolving into something different, which was pretty cool. Pretty cool way to tell the story after 28 years, and then it's given you a kind of a snapshot of what to expect with the what is it, the bone, what is it, the bone doctor, whatever his name is. And so I'm looking forward to that next movie too, because that one seems like it's going to be a good. But besides the 28 years, like, what show has really made an impact in your life that we've watched that you can? I mean, it could be one that you watch all the time. It could be one of our favorite comedies. It could be a drama, like Breaking Bad or whatever. But if somebody said, "Hey, what show has made the biggest impact in your life?"
The biggest impact. Well, for the comedy, I would say, oh man, that's a good one.
And I guess we have to define what impact is, right? So impact is like when you started watching it, it made you change, a part of you, right? It's like you like, for example, when we watch The Office, to me, when I watched The Office, it made me appreciate the times whenever I was in the office, because there's some things that actually do happen, right? That you don't really know. It's like, oh, that was cool. If you don't work in an office, you don't really know how people play around, do pranks and stuff like that, And so that's one thing, Whenever I was watching Narcos, it impacted me because it was like, I found myself rooting for, Pablo Escobar, and he was the bad guy. But the way that they told the story, I was like, they humanized him. They showed his kids and his wife, and his wife being there for him, regardless of what he was going through, right? His mom loving him, right?
Yeah.
And knowing that he was, responsible for all of these deaths and things like that. And so that kind of impacted me, because you could look at how I created a shirt called, I don't know, what was it? It's like like love sees no sin, right? It's like when you like love is blind, right? And so you could be in love with you know, a very bad person, and you not see a very bad person. You see me, right? Because love is blind. And so that's kind of like usually whenever a show impacts my life, it usually shows up in the form of a t-shirt design. Like it inspires something new. It inspires a podcast or something like that. But you know, what show besides The Office or Nauticals, you know, can you?
Well, I mean, my go-to shows that bring comfort are like Friends. I like watching Friends, and then you know, starting over again with Gilmore Girls. I usually want to watch Gilmore Girls again during the fall. I don't know why, it just seems like a good time to start, and so I don't have it in my mind like, okay, in October I'm going to start. It's just kind of like, hey, I think I want to watch it again, and so you know, I'll watch an episode here and there, and and do that. So that's one that I like. I like the Stars Hollow, the little town they live in, and I like it.
Yeah, I gotta admit the show's okay. I just don't like Lorelai. You know, it's I think, but without Lorelai, you don't have a Gilmore. You don't have one of the Gilmore Girls. You know, and so, yeah, I mean, we were watching an episode yesterday, and I was like,
I know.
I was like, I'm just reminded that I hate her. You know, so she goes and she's like, you know, she hooks up with Rory's dad, right? What's his name? Chris. And it's like, you know, you knew what you were doing. Then afterwards, regret. It's like the way, like, I can't believe that this happened. What do you mean you don't believe it was happening? You were right there. You were like half of the instigation, right? It wasn't like he was just like, you know, threw himself on you. You know, it's like she was definitely into it. She wanted it, and then she regrets it afterwards. And then after all of that, she remembers old poor Luke. That, you know,
he was waiting for her.
Yeah, because she had made a commitment to help him paint. And then she doesn't show up, and then she shows up all late and apologizes. Man, if I was Luke, you know, I wouldn't want anything to do with her. I'd be like, nah, man.
There's a lot of red flags for Luke from the very beginning.
For sure. Because he seems to be a good guy. Like from the couple of episodes, like it's more than a couple, but I haven't really paid attention. But the episodes that I paid attention to, I can, in my opinion, Luke is a good guy. You know, Lorelai's toxic, and so and she gets it from her mom. Her mom is toxic, and so she becomes toxic. And and last night, so they had you know, Chris's parents that came over, right? And so that dad would have got punched. Like he pushed her dad, Lorelai's dad, you know, to the point where he grabbed him and was like, no, you can't, you know, he should have just said that. You don't talk about my daughter like that. Right. But he was talking about the Gilmore name, right? Like that was a bigger thing. I would have just went straight to the point. I was like, hey, I don't care, you know, how toxic my daughter is. You're not going to talk about her right here in my house, in my house at all. And then I would have probably punched him in the face, and then just like boom, and that's what I would have done. But I guess they're more civilized. They're like, "How dare you, sir? I never." And so I'm like,
"Well, I'm gonna leave." He goes, "Well, no, you're not, because I'm kicking you out."
Yeah. I was like, man, I would have said something a lot worse. But yeah, so that episode was actually, I was like, all right, that's a cool episode, you know, because it's like, but then, you know, I'm just reminded how Lorelai is she's just so toxic. I can't stand her. And, but so that's the Showmates brand. The Showmates brand is something that, you know, we have several designs on our website. You can check them out from The Walking Dead, and it says Showmates on it, right? So it's usually the theme of the show. So we got Westworld, we got The Walking Dead, we got The Strain, we got, you know, even a Disney Plus version where it looks like the font of Disney Plus, but it says Showmates. We have a bunch of Breaking Bad. We have a bunch of different Showmates designs that are up on our website for purchase. So if you are a showmate, you have a showmate with you, and you guys want to watch a show, even if it's rewatching, go and grab your shirt and then tag us and show us that you're feeling this showmate vibe, and we'll give you a shout out right back, and we'll definitely appreciate your business. But moving on to our next segment, our last segment, I got to take a little break, drink some water, and but we're going to talk about a behind the X's and O's topic, and it's something that just recently came up, and we wanted to discuss it, and hopefully, if you're a business owner, especially if you're a couple, that you might be able to relate to. Keep them entertained while I drink this water. All right, I got to be quick. So after that brief intermission, so the topic for the behind the X's and O's is learning on the job and the communication that it takes to not destroy your relationship, to ruin what's good.
Yeah.
Right. For example, we our personal relationship, we have good communication, I think. And so we've grown to have good communication, right? And so we have good communication. We rarely, if at all, argue. And I don't even know if you want to call what we do arguing, because let me tell you, there's a difference between what we do and what other people do. I mean, just when we were wrapping the trailer, there was someone
in our vicinity,
right? Not in our family or anything like that, but just, in our vicinity. We were outside, so that goes to tell you. And man, that was like a drama, horror drama. And I was like, I can't believe that. I was almost embarrassed to be a human being. I was like, take that inside. Don't nobody want to hear that. And it's like so anyway, so that's like the extreme. What we do is we disagree. We say what we got to say. Okay, boom. Then usually I'm like apologizing real quick, so that's our personal relationship. Well, we're 4 years into our working relationship. And I think that we've gotten better. We've definitely gotten better. But there are areas that we have a tendency to not see eye to eye. And when we don't see eye to eye, tension and frustration usually comes. And it's never in our personal relationship. It's always in certain areas of our business. And so I'm the type of person that I want to find the root cause of the problem, so that way we can, nip it in the bud and then not have those issues. Right. And so what I've kind of determined that what sparks, gets the frustration going is whenever we're learning something new, something that I've never done before, you've never done before, but it's something that we're a new process in our business that we're trying to develop in, and it's a service that we're offering, and we're learning as we go. Most recently, window tint. Window tint is one of the newer services that we offer, and so I'm learning new techniques, new things to do, and I'm barely learning them, and I'm trying to teach my wife how to do it, and so I haven't developed my skills to the point to be able to train anybody. Like, I'm learning on my own, and I'm making adjustments along the way, but we're in a situation to where I definitely need her help, and it's hard for me to communicate what needs to be done because I really don't know what needs to be done, right? And whenever I'm working on it, I'm making adjustments along the way, and I'm trying to show her, but also communicate what needs to be done. And there's a loss in translation, right? And it's no one's fault. It's something new, because whenever we have the process down, for example, trailer wraps, we can wrap a trailer and we really don't have to even communicate. And what I was saying before this right here, and this is a nugget for those of you who are in business, when you have communicated effectively, whenever you can perform a task and not even have to say a word. That's a tweetable moment. That's something that you can post on, and I might make a meme out of that, right? And so when your communication is so good that you don't even need to say anything to each other, and then you go over here, like our lamination process. Whenever we were first learning how to laminate, I mean, that was like marriage counseling or marriage therapy, right? And so we were like, no, don't do this. Listen to me. Do what I'm telling you right now. And it doesn't matter what I said last week
or an hour ago.
An hour ago. Just listen to me right now and do it right now. And and so my wife. And
I'm like, but you just said, and then you say, but I'm telling you now, it's different.
Exactly, because the variables are updating in real time.
Yes.
And so when the variables are updating in real time, you have to okay, I need to listen to right now because the variables have updated, right? And so what I tried to explain, going back to the window tint, it's like, look, so what I said yesterday might have been right for yesterday, but then today we're doing something completely different. And so today has its own set of variables and own set of actions or steps that we got to take. And those are the things that are kind of hard to communicate because there's not a real process, right? After we have enough reps and we've done it enough times, we'll start to develop a process. And then we go about, the process the same every single step of the way. And then once we have a process, then we can start to become individuals within the process, right? It's like, I know that I got to do this, but what I found that if I do it like this, I could still get the job done, right? And not have to worry about it.
Yeah, I wanted to say something, and even if it's the same type of job, say it worked in the previous job, and then we're trying to do it in a new job, the same thing, it might not work. That's happened too. Yeah. And so in that new job, and you always tell me this, and then I'm like stuck in but it worked last time. It should work now. And if it's not working, you always tell me you have to make adjustments along the way.
Yes.
And that's hard for me. It's hard for me to find an adjustment, first of all, for something that I'm not really, I'm not a pro at. My husband is a pro at installing vinyl, everything all the services that we do, that we've been doing all these years. He's an expert, a pro.
Thank you, babe.
And so with me, I did it last time. I'm going to do it the same way, but it doesn't work out. And I always get stuck but it worked last time. And you always tell me, you just have to make adjustments as you go, because maybe something a variable that we can't see, there's a different variable. And so him coaching me through that, it's kind of like a mental block, right? That has to be torn down so that I can allow something new to be created, right?
Yeah. And that is a nugget right there, because it's a common thing. It's a common thing that most people want to have a full understanding of the situation and how I need to go through that situation before they even take a step.
Yeah.
And then if they take a step, it's hesitating because it's like, I'm not sure what's going to happen because I don't have the full picture and there's variables that I can't see. Right. And so to bring that into our business, some of the variables that you can't see are temperature, climate, where we're at, sunlight, darkness. Those are things a lot of those things you can't really see. It's like it's getting colder. The vinyl's starting to get a little stiffer, or it's hot, and it's starting to become more flexible. And so those are things that you have to adjust as the variables come in, and you have to do it in real time. And that's difficult because it's like, someone who's really good at following a process, which you are. If we have a process and it's like step 1 through 10, you'll follow it to the T, and you'll do it like that every single time. And I believe that we're brought up to be that type of person, to where it's like, you just give me the process, tell me what my job is, I'll get good at my job, and then I'll do it. Right. Well, you get thrown into a situation like where you're an owner operator of a business, that stuff goes out the window, because right now you're the person talking about Red Alpha Mugshot Monday, but as soon as we hit stop on record, it's the administrative part of our business. It's following up on invoices. It's making sure these things get ordered, making sure these guys get paid, making sure we get paid. All of those things. That's a different hat that you put on, right? And then we start working on the production part, right? So there's things and variables and processes, tasks that are associated with that. And so it's not always like step 1 through 10. It's like, okay, I know that we had this planned, right? Yesterday we had this plan, but I just got a call from so-and-so and we need to go measure their trailer. Or this person right here wants an estimate on a canopy or whatever, or whatever it is, and or a vehicle wrap. And so we have to stop what we're doing, do this, and then come back to this, right? And that's the challenge that we face. And then whenever we're starting to do something new, it's like, okay, where was I? How do I get this done? It's not working. I mean, whenever we were doing the window tint, it was like, I was excited because we have a new process. It's called a reverse roll. And it's like, okay, so I'm excited about this. And then it's like we had heat on the other side of the window to make it to where what we were spraying it was making it more sticky than what it should have been. It should have been more slidable. And so that was kind of frustrating me. We're putting it up and there's a spider up in the in the roof, and my wife was scared about it, and I'm like, legs. And I was like, don't worry about the spider. The spider's not worried about you. And,
but he's looking at me.
And so just different things that influence you. And then we have to be quiet because there's customers, it's like, and I want to I told you to say it, it's like, I want to say it louder, but I can't because it's like I'm in a library or something, it's like, and I think that was part of the frustration for me is like, I want to be able to give you instructions, and when you can't hear me, it makes me feel like you're not listening to me. And so hence the frustration. But drop in the comments if you guys are a working company, if you ever get frustrated, how do you deal with the frustration? What are some of the differences in your communication styles?
If you work with your spouse.
If you work with your spouse, what are the differences in communication styles, and what have you done to be able to help you stay together? Because at the end of the day, we still want to be married.
We still we can't go anywhere.
I want the peace that we have in our relationship to be everywhere, right? I want to go into tough situations in our business and have the same amount of peace that we have in our relationship, right? And so that's what we're working towards. We're only 4 years into working with each other, and so it's different. I'm telling you, you can have a great relationship outside of business, but open up a business, become partners, and you're going to find out about your relationship, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to see when your feelings get hurt, when they don't get hurt. You're going to find out what frustrates you, what you like, what you don't like. We've both said to each other, if we weren't married, we wouldn't be, we would fire each other.
I would quit.
Yeah. And I was like, at first I was like, man,
I would never work for a boss like you. I mean, that's me telling him.
Yeah. And it's like, and then when she would say that, I was like, then I finally like, well, have you ever thought that I might have fired you by now? It's like, if we were having this conversation like this, you probably would have been fired at a job. And so those are some of the things that we've talked about, and it's like, but we work through it, we get past it, and we get better. And like I say, once we have gotten to a point to where we've are now starting to master the process, or at least developing to where we don't have the back and forth. Once we've reached that level, our communication, it's on default,
right?
Because we have a good communication in our personal relationship, and once we've learned a new service to the point to where we don't have to talk so much, then everything's good.
Yeah, we know our roles and we know what to do, and it's just like going back to using the laminator for the first time. Man, we messed up a lot of prints, and it took years because even as we were learning and something worked, like I said, something worked, it wasn't the same for everything. If we just missed one little thing, it would ruin the whole print. But now we can set up our prints in the laminator and we don't even say one word. I already know what to do. You already know what to do, how to start it and push it through. And we don't even say, I mean, that's just like we're doing our dance.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It is.
You know, you never like appreciate silence so much then whenever you don't have to say anything to the person that you're working with, and all you can hear is a laminator going.
And get the job
that's
done.
Money.
I know.
That's
get
money.
The job done and it's perfect. We're like, yes.
Yeah, we don't even have to talk about it. And we could talk about it, but man, it's just so, gosh, this is great.
It is.
No one's saying anything and we're getting the job done.
Yeah.
I love it. That's what we're trying to work towards. And so that's our segment of Behind the X's and O's of Business. I hope that, that kind of, grabbed your attention, because communication, without communication, nothing gets done. Right. And if you can't separate, if you're a couple, and, you want to keep the peace that you have in your marriage relationship, and you want that to transfer over to your business relationship, you have to recognize where the stumbling blocks are. What is it that's causing the frustration? And then back all the way up and say, normally, whenever we're in this situation, this is what causes it. And for us is whenever we're trying to learn something new, a new process, and neither one of us are the experts yet, and we're trying to communicate what we don't even know to the other person, right? It's like, this is the end result that we need. I don't know how to get there, but I'm somehow going to train you along the way, right? And the way that we train each other is through trial and error. We're throwing stuff away. This didn't work. Let's try this. I'm watching YouTube videos. Okay, this is what I came up with. Let's try it here. And then finally, we develop a process that works for us. We get better, and then we don't even need to talk to each other. That's the end goal: to be able to get things done and read each other's mind, know what you got to do, work off of each other. It's like, oh, you need me to do this, I'm doing that, and be able to anticipate the needs of your partner. It's beautiful. It's like you're working in tandem. You know what the other person needs, and you do it, and the job gets done, and it gets done right. The customer's happy. That's the end goal. And so I hope you enjoyed that segment. We'll have more Behind the X's and O's of Business, and those segments right there are just really kind of opening up ourselves behind the scenes so that you can see that we are real people. We're not just a couple that owns a business. We are, we're husband and wife, right? We have interests. We have, sometimes we have issues with our communication as well. And, but at the end of the day, we love each other. We're on the same page where we're trying to get, where to get our lives to. We know our reasons why. And that's why we get up every single day. And then we work as hard as we can so that we can end up having the life that we both dream of, not just for ourselves, but for our kids and our grandkids. But anyways, that's another episode of Red Alpha Mugshot Monday. We hope you enjoyed it. Tune in next week for our next episode, and drop a comment if anything resonated with you. Let us know that we're making an impact somehow. But that's Ruben and Veronica for Red Alpha Mugshot Monday, signing off.
Red Alpha out.